Hey YouTube, welcome back to the Resistance Barbell Club's YouTube channel. My name is Christina Coatney, and today I'm going to take you through an awesome back workout. Before we get started with the workout, I did want to just give a brief introduction of myself. So as far as my fitness journey goes, I've been competitive bodybuilding for almost, I would say 7 or 8 years now. Started in 2015, but I've been actively working out in the gym for about 10 years. So I started when I was 19 years old, got in the gym because I wanted to join the military. So ultimately I started training and specifically went in just to have a couple goals in mind, which was to run a mile in a specific amount of time, and then to also do push-ups, sit-ups, and pull-ups, because that was something that I needed to do in order to get into the military. 3 months into my initial journey within the gym, I decided that I didn't want to go that route. So stayed with college and started actually lifting weights. So made my way over from the cardio machines and cardio equipment to the weight section. And that's kind of where I've been ever since. About a year later, I decided to enter my first NPC bikini competition in 2015, and immediately was kind of hooked after that. Another fun fact that not a lot of people know is bodybuilding runs in my family. So in the 1950s and 1960s, my grandfather was actually a bodybuilder. Was never a professional. NPC, IFBB wasn't around back then, but he was the type of individual that trained hard, ate, lift heavy, and ultimately got on stage to showcase his physique. So that kind of is one of the reasons why I've gotten into the sport. And then throughout my journey, I've just found out that there's different divisions that women can compete in. And ultimately, I have done bikini and figure. Last time I competed in 2021, I stuck with bikini. And currently, I am in competition prep right now to get back on the stage, specifically within the NPC division. And ultimately, my goal is to, of course, obtain and become an IFBB pro in the sport, and really just see what I can do with my journey in the sport and kind of how far I can make it. So today we're actually going to hit a back workout. Typically I do back about once or twice a week, depending on what my split's looking like. So we're gonna do a total of 5 back movements, and then 2 arm movements. Something that I did want to preference is that this workout is specifically tailored to myself. Keep in mind, within the sport of bodybuilding, you are training for aesthetics. I'm training for a specific physique within the division that I'm competing in. So some of the movements that I'm doing might not necessarily be movements that you want to do yourself, because it is tailored to my program and what my coach has prescribed to me. But ultimately, I'm going to take you guys through a back workout. Would love to kind of showcase some of the cues that I look for and do when I am training back, and kind of just go from there. So what we're going to do first is actually start off with a wide grip lat pull down. Before I go into most of my working sets, I will go ahead and do a warm-up set. Now this set isn't going to be a part of my full-blown working set. Reason being is I really get into it to not only kind of get the movement started and to really feel the mind and muscle contraction, but it's also ultimately making sure that my whole setup is good to go, so that when I do go into a working set, I'm not wasting any reps, I'm not wasting any sets. So as you can tell right now, the weight right now is at 60. Personally, for me, that is a very light weight for this exercise. So what I'm gonna go ahead and do and just get into the movement. Keep in mind, this is a wide grip lat pull down. So ultimately, I'm just making sure that I'm comfortable with this setup, that my legs are locked in, my feet are flat on the ground, they're not raised like this. I'm locked into the movement, and then I will go ahead and start the actual pull downs. And just keep in mind, this is just a warm-up set, so I'm not gonna include this in my actual working set in a moment. But what I am doing is just pulling it straight down, and you can tell that I am doing a slight lean back. I'm not coming straight down like this. I'm just doing a slight tilt and really making sure that I am contracting my lats. I'll do 2 more movements and then I'll bring it back. And so what I'm going to go into now is my first working set. So for this movement, I typically do 3 sets of anywhere between 8 to 10. Ultimately, the goal every single time I'm doing a set is to increase the weight, right? We wanna make sure that we are progressive overloading our weight. That's how you build muscle. And so every single set that I do, the weight will gradually increase. So right now I'm starting my first working set of 80 pounds. Ultimate goal is to do anywhere between 8 to 10. As you can tell, I'm a little out of breath. That means we're working.
It's a good set.
That's how I train. If you're not breathing hard and not feeling like, you know, you need some water, you need to take 5 seconds to yourself, you're probably not training hard enough. Right. So this is how I train, not only just within the back movement, but all my body parts that I train. Ultimately, when it comes to bodybuilding, especially competitive bodybuilding, you want to exhaust the muscle in order to truly gain some muscle mass. So in many cases, if I'm not training to absolute complete failure on some of my muscle groups, I'm training to the point where it is complete failure. So in this case, with back, with the division I'm competing with bikini, I'm not judged on my back because my hair is covered by it, but I still train it and ultimately to have an overall well-rounded physique. And another awesome tip too is the wider your back, the smaller your waist looks. It's an optical illusion. So that's one of the reasons why bikini girls still train back, even though it's completely covered by our hair. Kind of stings too, because back is actually one of my favorite things to train. So still on the same machine, you notice we've changed the attachment. So we are just gonna now do a single arm lat pull down. I am someone that really likes doing a lot of isolation movements. I have a tendency to really focus on more of the mind muscle connection when it's isolation. And luckily, this is prescribed by my coach on my plan, so kind of a win-win in both situations. But once again, the weight that we have here is going to be our warm-up set. It's not gonna be a working set. The reason why I do this is just to make sure that I'm contracting the muscles, you know, comfortable with the movement before we truly go into a working set. So same what we did with our wide grip lat pull down. I'm just gonna get into position, feet flat on the ground, core braced. And then right now, I'm just gonna go ahead and do a single arm lat pull down. Really making sure that I am having that mind to muscle connection. Sometimes what I do too as a cue is if I feel like I can't really engage the muscle I'm targeting, I'll go ahead and take one of my hands and truly put my hand on that muscle. So I know my lat ends about right here. So then I'll go ahead and actually put my hand down, put one or two fingers, and make sure that I'm actually truly working the muscle that I'm intending to work and making sure that none of my other muscles are taking over. So once I go ahead and just get into position, making sure that the muscle is right, I feel good, I'll go ahead and jump into my first working set. So same as last time, we're gonna do about 3 working sets, anywhere between 8 to 10 reps, with ultimately having that progressive overload. As you could tell in the last movement, when I did progressive overload, I went up in weight every time. On this movement, what I realize is when I do jump up in weight every time, I have a tendency to not have the best form. So I can still progressive overload and maybe do an extra 1 to 2 reps instead of actually increasing the weight to the point where most of those reps are unfortunately going to be pointless because they're not going to target the muscle that I'm intending to target, which in this case is our lats. So with that being said, I am going to go into my first working set with a weight that I know is going to be a slight challenge for me, but I can still keep decent form. So once again, getting locked into position, feet flat on the ground. Since the weight's a little bit heavier than our warm-up set, I do like to place my hand, if I'm not placing it on my lat for guidance, I do like to place it on the machine for stability, and then I'll go ahead and go into my first working set. Okay, yeah, that was a struggle. That was 8 at 40. So since I'm struggling with that, I'm not gonna actually jump the weight. I'm gonna keep it at 40, but for my last and final set, I got 8 on both sides, so I'm gonna try to go for 9. Could I jump it up to 50? Probably. But I could already see myself losing form. And I could actually see myself, instead of being flat on the ground, I could see myself lifting up. So that's when I know, lower the weight, make sure our form is good. Once I'm able to perfect that, then next time we can go ahead and up the weight. So I'm gonna keep it at 40 still. Goal right now is to go for at least 9. Obviously 10 would be great. And just making sure that we're challenging ourselves to the most and to breathe. Now for our third exercise, we have moved on to awesome T-bar rows. This is actually one of my favorite exercises, and a couple different cues that I want to point out for you guys is obviously there's 2 different hand placements, a little bit wider to target that wide lat. I actually personally like to bring my hands a little bit closer, still targeting the lats, but I personally feel like I have more control over the movement. As you can tell by the weight, I did use 145 plate as my warm-up, and now we've added 45 and a 10. This is gonna be my first working set. Anywhere between 6 to 8 reps on this. As you can tell with my third movement, I'm starting to feel a little bit of fatigue, but ultimately want to make sure that the form is there and I'm still pushing through. So therefore, I'm going to go ahead and try to target a rep range of anywhere between 6 to 8. So with that being said, just going to go ahead and move my hair back, but make sure my feet are planted on the platform, that they're not up, that they're not off to the side or one off. I've seen people do different types of things. Make sure your feet are completely laid flat and planted. I'm gonna get my hands into position. Gonna go ahead and lift the weight. Get that nice long stretch in the muscle. I'm not gonna be coming off of the pad. I'm gonna keep my body glued to the pad as much as I can, and I'm gonna go ahead and begin the movement. Okay. Oh gosh. All right, so that was a little easier than I thought. So I'm gonna go ahead and swap out the 10 for a 25. So we'll do a 45 plate and then a 25, and I'm gonna take off the 10 for the time being because this was a little lighter than I expected. Yeah, nope. 5.5. So that right there could actually be considered failure because I couldn't get the weight all the way up, and if I was to drop it, the weight obviously would have fallen on the ground. So once again, I think one of the things that I see especially a lot of females do is they don't train hard. They're not truly lifting heavy to change their physique. If you truly want to change the structure of your physique and the makeup of your physique, you're gonna have to start lifting some heavy weights. And I promise you, you won't get big or bulky. Muscle weighs more than fat. So if you are truly on a weight loss journey and want to lose some body fat, put some weight on the bar, lift some heavy weights, and I guarantee you your physique will change slowly but surely. So we're gonna go over to cable rows. Once again, another single arm motion. So once again, my weight that I'm using is just a warm-up set. It's not gonna count towards my working weights. I pick a weight that is extremely light and easy, just to make sure that my form is right. So this exercise, I like to do my feet placement in 2 different ways. Sometimes I like to push all the way back on the feet and have both my feet planted on the actual ground instead of planted on the machine itself. So I'll go ahead and do this, and we are doing single arm cable rows. So contracting the muscle, stretching the muscle out, and really pushing that elbow back. The easiest way that I like to picture this movement is picture as if you're elbowing someone, like you're truly elbowing someone. That's the easiest way.
That's a good tip. Yes, that's
that
really good
I
tip.
like to do this movement. And I also like to try to picture that it's a straight line, that I'm nice and even with my body. So picture like I'm elbowing someone and really working that lat. Now we'll go into our actual working set. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with 30. This weight is a little bit challenging for me, but it gives me the opportunity to still do some progressive overloading with some additional sets. So this movement, just like all the other movements, 3 sets, 3 working sets, rep range anywhere between 8 to 10 reps. So once again, the way that I like to perform this movement is I like to keep my feet flat on the ground. Just like with all the other movements, feet aren't up. You're not doing the happy dance feet that most people do. Your feet are flat on the ground, they're planted, and then you just start working the contraction. So that was 8 reps. First working set. I'm gonna leave it at 30. Felt like this weight was pretty challenging. Keep in mind that we're now in our 4th movement, so your body should be pretty fatigued. If you're not still out of breath, if you're not feel like you're getting weaker in your workout, probably not working hard enough.
Just not working hard enough.
Not working hard enough. So as you can tell, I'm still kind of out of breath. I've been out of breath most of this workout. And so I'm gonna give a quick little break. Me personally, I don't like to take rest periods too long. I like to keep my heart rate up. That's why one of the reasons why I do wear a Apple Watch fitness tracker. I like to make sure that my heart rate's constantly up. I don't like for my heart rate to get down too low when I'm, especially when I'm working out lifting weights. I like to keep the heart rate pretty elevated. So with that being said, 30-second breaks over. We're gonna be once again beginning our 2nd working set. Keep in mind my hand where I'm placing it, either on the bench for support, or you can go ahead and put it on your leg, whatever works for you. Okay, switch into the other side. Once again, aiming for 8 reps. Oh geez, yep. Can obviously tell which side's my stronger. It's my right side. Okay, so that was our 4th exercise. I have 1 more back exercise. And then we'll go into 2 bicep movements. So I'm actually gonna set up for a straight arm pull down. We are doing a straight arm pullover, straight bar, excuse me. You can use this with a rope. I actually prefer a bar. Whenever I use a tricep rope, my triceps like to take over and my shoulders, not my lats, not my back. So I like a straight bar. Once again, I pick a weight as our warm-up set that I know is not going to be a challenge to me. In this case, I'm going to do 30 pounds and make sure that my form is right before I go into my actual working sets. The easiest way for this movement is I like to picture my body in an S shape. S shape meaning you step back a little bit from the bar, knees are bent. You should never be fully locking your knees out when working out. Your knees need to be bent so you don't pass out. Putting the bar, making sure that my arms are straight. What I like to do is just have a tilt my body forward and then arch my back. This is actually kind of a standard bikini pose as well. And the reason why I do this is because I feel like in this movement, my lats are the only body part that actually take over. So then I'll go ahead and actually start the movement, making sure that my legs have a slight bend in them, my feet are flat on the ground, and that ultimately my arms are straight as well, and that I am just coming down and I am contracting the lats, making sure that I'm getting that full range of motion and just working the muscle intended to work. Once again, if you feel like you're working your triceps, your shoulders, the weight's probably too heavy for you. So we're gonna go ahead and go into our first working set. 3 working sets, rep range anywhere between 8 to 10 reps. So I'm gonna start with 50 pounds. That's gonna be my starting weight. Ultimately trying to work up that weight as well with every set. And 10. Okay. It's actually kind of easy. And as you can tell, it's going a little bit quicker in that movement than you should. So I'm gonna up the weight. Having that weight, not only is it giving that progressive overload, but it's adding that extra challenge that I need. I'm just gonna take some quick water. Another thing too is make sure you're staying hydrated throughout your workout. Most workouts, I have at least half a gallon in me. And also I have anywhere between 2 to 3 meals in me as well. If you want to grow muscle, it's not really the best to work out fasted. Can it be done? Absolutely. But you're probably gonna get a little bit more bang out of your buck, have a little bit more muscle synthesis, muscle growth if you have some food in you. So it's okay to eat before you work out, and make sure that you are staying hydrated throughout your workout as well. That's another good thing, is making sure you're drinking water, not having any cramps, and ultimately having that water be pushed into the muscle. And like I look right now, I look pretty full, with just a couple meals in me and half a gallon in me as well. Okay, so we're gonna go into our second working set, rep range anywhere between 8 to 10. The weight has now been upped from 50 to 60, adding that little extra challenge for myself as well. So going back, knees are never locked, slightly bent. Once again, feet are flat on the ground. Feet aren't doing the twinkle toes or whatever everyone does, which I myself fall victim to as well. But feet are flat, legs are slightly bent, arms are out straight, body kind of in a nice S shape, and getting ready to pull the bar down to do that nice. Just step back a little bit actually. There we go. Nice pull down. Oh, there we go. Okay, yep. Oh, geez. So I'm gonna keep the weight at 60 for our last and final set. Why, you might ask? Because I did feel my tricep taken over. So instead of upping the weight to 70, which I know I could easily do, want to make sure that I'm having good form. So I'm going to keep the weight still at 60, still ultimately going to target that rep range of anywhere between 8 to 10. So that being said, I'm going to go ahead, just move my hair out of the way, finish off. Okay, yep, and we're done. Oh, geez. Okay, so that actually will now conclude our back workout. Pretty fatigued. Last couple reps probably weren't the best. I'll be the first to admit, but my body is pretty spent in terms of my back. So we're gonna finish off this workout with 2 bicep movements. Keep in mind, I'm training for a specific physique through a specific division. So therefore, I only train biceps once a week with 2 movements. Why, you might ask? I'm not getting judged on my biceps. With the bikini division, you're judged on a couple things. You're judged on your overall level of leanness and how healthy you look. You're judged on your shoulders, if you have nice capped shoulders, but not too capped or not too striated to the point where you're figure or women's physique. And then you're also judged on your backside, your glutes, level of leanness in your glutes, and having that nice glute ham tie-in. So that's ultimately what I'm being judged on. So therefore, when it comes to biceps, I only do 2 movements once a week, which kind of stings because I actually do enjoy training that body part, but it's just not a part that I'm being judged on at this time. So with that being said, I'm actually gonna lower cable machine. We're gonna start our first bicep workout with cable bicep curls. I'm gonna start with 20. Just have to test the weight out and make sure. Once again, feet flat, knees slightly bent. Never wanna lock your knees in place. And then I'll go ahead and start to do my first curl. Remember, just like with all my other sets, this isn't a working set, this is a warm-up set. So it's not gonna count towards our working sets. Just reiterating, the main reasons why I do this is to make sure that my form is good, to make sure that I am really feeling the muscle contract before I go into my actual working sets. So I'm gonna go ahead and just raise the bar. I'm just gonna move slightly forward a little bit. If you feel in this movement like your shoulders are taking over, probably because the weight's too heavy. So lower the weight, it's okay. But with this being said, I'm just gonna do a couple more reps, just get that nice warm up set, get the blood flowing into the bicep, and then I'm actually gonna begin my first official working set. So with that being said, working set's gonna start at 30 pounds. Rep range is gonna go anywhere between 10 to 12. You'll notice this rep range is a little bit higher than what I typically have been doing for back, because I only train it once a week with 2 movements. So I want to get the most out of it. So I'll go ahead, just step back slightly from the bar, or I should say the cable machine, slightly bent, and I'll go ahead and start to bring the bar up to my chest and bring it down. The thing that I like about doing with bicep curls is I like to keep tension on the muscle. So you'll kind of notice when I do my curl go up, I don't come all the way down. The reason being is I want to keep tension on the muscle. So what I'll do is I'll do the curl, I'll kind of bring it down, not all the way down, kind of bring it right here, a little bit kind of even with my pelvis, and then I'll bring it back up. Having tension on the muscle the whole time to the point where I'm not completely going down, losing that tension, and then fighting to get it back up. So that's what I noticed with biceps, is keeping tension on the muscle. So that was 12. That was our first working set. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep the weight at 30. Weight's pretty challenging for me at this time. So I'm gonna go ahead and once again shoot for anywhere between 10 to 12 in terms of a rep range. Oh, geez. Okay, yeah. Well, that's gonna hurt. Okay, so, oh, geez, shake it off. Oh yeah, heart rate's definitely up there. Take a little bit of a 30-second break. And in this workout, my watch is showing about 46 minutes. Still out of breath, still keeping it going. If you were to hold a conversation with me, I could still talk, but you could obviously can hear that I'm trying to catch my breath. You want to make sure that when you are working out, this is one of the biggest things, is to make sure in order that you're actually truly pushing yourself to your limits, is it's okay to be out of breath. If you're out of breath, you're working hard. So it's totally fine. It's actually one of the main reasons why typically in my workouts, I don't really like to talk to people. I like to just be in the zone. One of the reasons why is I want to make sure my heart rate's up. I want to make sure that I'm focused and that I'm just in the zone and that I'm, ultimately really exhausting the muscle. So, even though we're almost towards the end of our workout, I'm still having a little bit of a trouble breathing, which is what we want. That's how we're building muscle over here. So once again, last set, so a slight step back. Once again, legs slightly bent, feet flat on the ground, and begin to curl that bar towards you. Not coming all the way down, keeping tension on that muscle, tension on that bicep. If you feel like your shoulders are taking over, lower the weight. It's okay, I guarantee you no one's judging how much you are and aren't lifting. It's okay to lower the weight. 9, 2 more, 11, and 12, yep, there we go. Okay, so we're done with this movement. Our last movement is actually gonna be another bicep curl movement. I'm actually gonna get one of the easy bars. We're gonna do a couple bicep curls on that, and then we will be done. Okay, so now we have our nice little easy curl bar. I've grabbed 30. This is a nice heavy weight for me. Pretty fatigued, pretty exhausted after our back workouts and even after the bicep curls I just did on the cable. So I'm gonna go ahead and do 3 sets. Rep range is gonna be anywhere between 12 to 15. Really wanna exhaust the muscle on this one, and this is gonna be my last and final workout of the day. So legs apart, knees once again slightly bent. I like to reiterate this because when I do see people with their knees locked like this, it's a great way to pass out. So have a slight bend in your knees. It's totally okay, totally fine, and go ahead and start to curl. Once again, if you feel like your back or even your shoulders are taking over, lower the weight. 2 more. Okay, and whoa, geez. As you can tell, once again, with our same movement on the cable machine, wasn't coming all the way down. It was coming up about this far, and then kind of going right there to about the end of where my bicep ends, and then contracting the muscle again. So another big tip for bicep curls is if you really want to challenge yourself is do your curl against a flat surface. If you curl against a flat surface, let's say this for instance, you put your back up, you begin your curl, you'll truly be challenged and be humbled as well. Because a lot of times a normal weight that you're doing, let's say 40, 50, 60 pounds, if you lean up against a wall, flat surface and curl, you'll realize that the weight's a little bit too heavy for you and that your back is taking over and not your biceps. So once again with bicep curls, what I've always realized and the thing that works best for me in my training is that if I feel like my back is swinging or I'm using momentum to pick up the weight, if I truly want to humble myself, I'll go on a flat surface, go on a flat wall, and go ahead and begin that bicep curl as well. And I've always found that the weight's been a little bit heavier than I should be using. So with that being said, we're gonna go into our second working set of bicep curls, curling anywhere between 12 to 15. And kind of going from there. So let's see how many I can get. 8. Come on. One more. Nope, gonna get it. I'm not gonna swing my body too much.
Want to cheat.
Yeah.
No cheating.
Not gonna cheat on that one. If I can't get it, nice. Put the weight down, it's okay. Muscles are definitely pretty fatigued. So gonna give a 30-second break. And we're gonna finish this workout series off with our last bicep curl, kind of just go from there. I don't typically train with a training partner, mainly because sometimes I can lift too much weight than they can, or vice versa. I don't lift as much as they do. So I like to just individually train, and one of the ways that I push myself is I will count out loud my sets, my reps. I will encourage myself one more. And one thing that I always keep in the back of my head, especially as a competitive bodybuilder, is that there's always someone working harder than you, right? There's always someone coming for your goal, coming for your trophy, coming for your placing. A lot of times you hear saying that you're only as good as your last show, you're only as good as your last placing. So a lot of times other competitors are working harder than you, sometimes even twice as hard. So I always keep that in the back of my head and making sure that I myself am working just as hard, if not as harder than my competition, than other competitors that I'm gonna be judged with on stage. So that's something I always keep in the back of my head to really keep me going in a way that I self-motivate myself as well. So that being said, we're gonna finish off this last and final bicep workout. Move my hair out of the way, get the arms nice, legs slightly bent again, and curling. And let's see if I can, nope, I'm done. I feel dead inside, so I think we've exceeded our goal. I think, yeah, so I think that's everything.
That was a great workout. Thank you for taking us through that, Christina. Great job. Yeah. I'm sure a lot of you guys out there learned a lot from that workout. So hopefully you'll do this again with other body parts.
Yes.
And we'll see you soon in another video.
Yes, you sure will. Awesome. Thanks, guys.